podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
First there was the original,
I thought it might be nice for kids. Keep them off the street, you know.
then the basic,
This is a simple game.
then the first version of the advanced.
Good, clean, wholesome fun.
Now the hammer comes down. Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn second edition AD&D podcast ever. Welcome back to THACO's Hammer. So go in the fridge, get a drink, let me see your character sheet, and we are back this week with another episode 8. Isn't that right, Brian?
That is correct, sir.
Yes, and to my right here is DM Brian.
That
Usually I have Corey at my right, but Corey is a busy boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping to have Bad Mike on the show again, too. That's cool. He's my left hand. Well, I always told Corey he was like my Al to my Tim Taylor. So
but he's not quite that quiet though.
That's okay. That's okay. The more he talks, the better I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Time for hits and crits.
What do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Oh, we ought to do something. It's Saturday night. I don't want to go bowling like last Saturday. Oh, what do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Hits and crits. And hits and crits. What'd you do RPG-wise this week, Brian?
Still working on my campaign. I am taking a step forward. I'm starting to look at whiteboard programs because I think my game is going to probably end up being online.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the only person there are actually two, my girlfriend and my ex-fiance. I know, I've already got
I didn't figure that one.
Oh, no, it's all good. Me and my ex-fiance are really good friends. Hey, she made me godfather of her son, so I guess we're good friends.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
But
as long, as long as you can handle it, okay, fine.
oh yeah, everything's cool.
Okay.
But they're the only two in the actual area I live in, and I was thinking about having, maybe two more players at the least, maybe 3. And so I'm probably going to open it up to online and see about, who wants to play in my campaign.
Ooh, I hear an invitation going out, guys.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I'll open up the email and all of a sudden it's like, I want to play in your game, dude. And it's like, okay. All right. First come, first serve.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could leave us a message on our voicemail. We'll pass it along. 405-806-0555.
Now there's a novel idea.
Well, nobody uses it for anything else. We have yet to get anybody.
That's
It's
true.
like, I just want them to use it. That's all.
Mhm.
Yeah, do that, or thacoshammer@gmail.com, the Dragon's Foot forums, second edition forums, and at purpleworm.org.
Yes.
And Brian will be happy to take your call and put you in his game and give you cookies.
If you're quick enough.
If you're quick. Haven't done a dang thing, sorry to say, with gaming or anything like that. But I did manage to get a table in my office here, and that table has now got miniatures and painting stuff on it. So I'm going to start painting minis if the weather holds out. If it gets too dang hot in here, I'm not coming in. But
No, I understand that. I have to wait until the weather warms up here because I use basically spray acrylic, acrylic base for to paint my minis, and I almost put my girlfriend in the hospital because of the fumes. So I'm gonna.
Loud.
Yeah, I know it was irresponsible of me. But so I have to wait till the weather warms up a little more. Then I'll take them outside and give them the spray down.
I used to base that way, and now I do it with white paint. And because I did it for a while, I was in the garage with a box. I can't. I don't want to do this. I just want to paint them, get them dry, and start.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I need to find um an acrylic coat a finisher. What do you call that? The
Sealer,
sealant?
a
Yeah,
sealer.
sealant. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now they got glossy and they got flat.
Yeah, I'll probably do glossy.
Glossy, I hear. Somebody may correct me on this. Glossy, I hear, wears better with people handling them and stuff. But sometimes you want flat for things that you don't want shiny.
That's true.
I've heard people do, because a lot of people do all flat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people put like a coat of glossy and then put a coat of flat, just for the extra protection.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, because nothing is more distressing to me than spending, at least for me, a day or two painting miniatures and getting it just right, and then watching the paint just slowly chip away the more you handle them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just pulled out one of my favorite pieces in there that I haven't finished doing yet. I have a Jabberwock in there.
Really?
Yeah. I have a Jabberwock mini, and it looks just like the one in the book. In fact, I took some milliput and made him a vest. Because if you look at that Tennel illustration, he's wearing a waistcoat.
You have to understand something. As many times as I've read the Jabberwocky, I've never seen the picture.
You never seen in Alice in Through the Looking Glass? You never saw the picture?
Never.
Wow.
I never have.
I'm gonna have to send that to you, because
Please.
It's just like in the current movie where it could be Alice, because the guy's got long hair and stuff, but he's in the forest fighting him, and he's got a waistcoat on for no reason. Which I thought was cool, so it's like, all right, he looks naked, I'm going to cover him up. So I gave him a waistcoat. But I'm looking at it now, and like the wing is starting to peel off the paint. It's like, I don't want to do this again. I had 16 pots of paint, and I had to throw 15 away because the things just sat up there for like 6 years.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it. The same things happen with my paints, except I never opened them.
So it's like I'm putting out like another $40 for paints,
I'm trying not to think about that, because I'm probably going to have to do the same thing.
Anyway, we're probably boring these people out here. Let's go over to It's in the Book.
You ever go to school, stupid?
Yeah, and I come out the same way.
Is that your idea of an idea?
It's in the book.
It's in the book. Okay, we are going to talk about individual versus group initiative. Now, this one could be kind of a hot spot with people.
From the debates I've seen on Dragon's Foot and elsewhere, it is.
It's one of those things that it's highly individual, as far as from DM to DM. I mean,
right.
I've seen flame wars start up over this thing.
Yes, it's disappointing, to be sure.
So we're talking about Player's Handbook. The first printing is on page 94. Individual versus group initiative. Although for those of us who are playing with the Black Book reprint, it is page 125 and 126. Actually, it's 125. Actually, it's chapter 9 in combat, 124 to 125 and 126, where they talk about initiative, and they have some sidebars about group versus. And what we're talking about, for people who don't know, is, do you have each side roll for initiative at the beginning of combat, or do you have individual characters roll their own initiative for combat? How do you feel about that, Brian?
Well, ever since I played 2nd edition 91, I've always used the characters roll their own initiative. That was one of the things that kind of bugged me about playing the older editions, that one person would roll initiative for the entire party and use his modifiers to that. So I basically just said, okay, I'm going to just do individual initiative for each character, and for groups of monsters, like say parties up against like say 10 orcs and an orc chieftain. Seeing the orc chieftain's rather a special case, I would give an initiative to him alone, but only one initiative to the orcs.
Okay.
So,
So
I
it's
mean,
kind of a halfway
yeah,
compromise.
that, and it works out. At least it's worked out pretty well in my games, and everybody, just basically I start counting up from one, and when I get to a certain number, the player who has the corresponding number calls out, and I say, "Okay, it's your turn. What do you do?" And then he resolves his attacks or casts a spell or whatever he wants to do, and then once his action's resolved, then the next person in line goes up, and so on and so on and so forth
Hmm.
until the end of the round, and
Okay.
then people with multiple attacks get their second attack, and then that's the end of it, and roll for initiative for the next round.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm kind of on the fence on this one
Hmm.
because I've been in games with individual initiative. I've been in games with group initiative,
Hmm.
and I'm kind of leaning towards the group initiative thing.
Hmm.
Um, Only because there's got to be some way to like figure out a group initiative depending on what the circumstances are of the combat. I
Right.
mean, okay, you're fighting four goblins. Say it's a group of five. You're fighting four goblins and a hobgoblin,
Hmm.
and you're on. Let's see what it says here. Higher ground than them.
Hmm.
The wizard. Well, we're not going to get into spells because that's something else I want to talk about.
Okay.
And they're wading in deep water, but you are um, slowed because the shaman whipped a slow spell on you on
Hmm.
say the fighter.
Right.
So I would like I'd like to do the group initiative, but figure out a modifier that would cover all of that.
Right.
Say your
Right.
group would have a +1
Hmm. Hmm.
for all that instead of having. See, it just drives me crazy. Okay, my initiative. This goes back. I'm flashing back to champions right now. It's your phase. It's your
Hmm.
phase. It's your
Hmm.
phase. And that just like, no wonder I fall asleep at these combats.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
another good compromise. So I'm kind of like the group initiative. Another good compromise. And pardon me if you already said this, and I was trying to listen real hard. But
It's okay. It's the roundabout way I talk. I know.
that's okay. Uh, Individual initiative for the players. Group
Hmm.
initiative for the NPCs.
Yeah, I find that works best because, that way, everybody, it also keeps the players engaged because with the separate initiative numbers for each character, it's like, okay, I go on this number, this is what's happening in front of me, what do I do?
Yeah.
And of course it also kind of gives the leeway to the players, and also if the DM's got anything on the ball, gives the leeway to the monsters to change their tactics
Uh-huh.
as things develop in the combat round.
I understand that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, when I sort of deferred on some magic here, what I meant to say was, how does that affect? Remember, like even in first edition,
Hmm.
and even back to basic, you had
Hmm.
okay, this is the magic round. Okay,
Hmm.
this is the combat round. This is the um, uh, um, missile
Missile
weapons round.
combat.
Now,
Hmm.
does that negate that? Doing it
No,
that way?
no, because each, as we know, all the spells have casting times,
Right.
and the casting time is added to the character's initiative. So, I mean, the only time it gets tricky is if they decide to cast a spell that takes one full round for them to cast.
Yeah.
That's the only time it ever becomes tricky. Otherwise, it's like Magic Missile has a casting time of one. You just add one to the initiative number.
Okay.
Whole person is three, and so on and so forth.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I'd love to get rid of those.
Hmm.
The magic round, the missile weapons round.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah, I agree.
just fight. You got
Hmm.
your initiatives, fight.
Exactly.
Number one, number two, number three,
Hmm.
and if I had group initiative on their side, I just go, okay, you guys go here. You guys rolled a 5, they rolled a 7. You guys go. They go first, and do it by dex.
Hmm.
Highest
Yes.
dex goes first.
Yeah, that is a house rule, by the way. A lot of people use the dexterity modifier and add that to their initiative, which of course lowers it
Right.
further. I've never used it, to be honest. I think that using just the initiative number and either casting time or weapon speed factor is more than enough.
Yeah,
You know,
if
I
you
mean,
want to use weapon speed.
right? Well, yeah, and I do.
I'm running more. I'm running to more and more, you guys. I
Well,
don't like weapon speed.
can you tell me why without blowing a blood vessel, please?
Of course. I took my meds this morning. It's okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because I had it forced down my throat in the RPGA. That's why.
Oh, I see. Oh,
That's what.
okay. I understand that.
This is bull. I don't like this. It's like, you want to
Hmm.
play? Okay, fine.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I'll use a dagger for everything. How about that?
Yes. Hey, speed factor of 2. It's easy.
That's true. And
Hmm.
doggone, if they were playing Holmes, I wouldn't really matter. So.
That's true. But then again, if you're playing if you're playing Holmes, everybody would, is that where the whole missile round, magic round thing
I
started?
think so. I
Okay.
can't. I never looked at the brown books on that, but I believe so. To me, that's like a holdover from chainmail.
Yeah, I think so too. I
Yeah,
think so too.
and that's like that was like the last vestige of the wargaming that
Hmm.
rid of.
Because they went with that up until first edition, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was still in first edition.
Okay. Yeah. Then when second edition came out, they said, okay, I think the idea was to make combat more fluid, to where it wasn't quite so regimented.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And it was like the missile people. You had somebody who always used the longbow. I think in first edition, I'm not sure. It's been so long since I played it. I think the missile combat went first,
Uh huh.
then the melee combat, then the magic afterward, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Something like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like around second edition. Somebody finally figured out. This isn't a simulation. It's a game. That's
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's make it fun.
Hmm.
Now, has magic ever messed you up as far as this like combat initiative go as a DM? Has it ever
No,
messed?
not really.
Okay.
I mean, when it comes to spellcasters, I mean, the whole thing is that when the combat round's about to begin, you're supposed to get your players' declarations of action before the initiative dice are rolled.
Right.
You know, I mean, my whole thing is that I found it to be much more fluid and a lot freer just to let a magic user or a cleric character roll their initiative, and then once your initiative comes up, whether it be if they roll low, they go at the beginning of the round. They roll high, they go towards the end. But
Yeah.
when their initiative number comes up, it's like, okay, what do you do? This is what's going on in front of you. How do you do this? Now, that um, gives a lot more freedom for mage characters, because they could go from, say, trying to cast a lightning bolt at somebody, but then the fighter runs up and engages the target that he was going to hit, and then he's like, oh darn it, okay, I'll cast magic missile on him, and then just go from there.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. Have you ever had like? Well, I just said magic mess you up, because I know there's spells out there that can like kind of play havoc with initiative. Has anything to do with like time
Hmm.
or anything like that?
Yeah, like I said, the only ones that I've run any sort of problems with are the spells that take one full melee round to cast or
Hmm.
more.
Yeah.
Like my whole thing is that, I mean, I've never run into someone in a long time anyway who casts spells that take more than one round to cast, because more often than not they're going to get hit and get their spell disrupted.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I can
but
understand that.
yeah, but no, magic, I mean, it's as simple as you make it, basically.
Okay.
And if you add this casting time to the initiative, then that's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
And
Okay. Well, how about you folks? I'm sure you have a myriad of opinions on initiative, and we'd like to hear them from that. We'd like to hear from you on them at
Yes, we would.
the Dragon's Foot second edition forum. And Brian will tell you the rest of the places because I can't talk today.
Also, we will take your emails at thacoshammer@gmail.com. And also, if you want to uh, give us a call and leave a message and maybe even a rant, rant away. We don't mind. The number is 405-806-0555.
I was thinking of adding a feature to this show about like an editorial by one of
Oh,
us. And I mean, this goes against us. It kind of goes against us saying we don't want an edition bash and other things like that. But there
mhm.
are things that we do have pet peeves about.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it'd be nice if we had like, you know, my opinion by Brian.
Yeah, like when you opened up the Dragon magazines, that's like one of the first things you would see.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
editorial.
Sure. I'm sure I could come up with something I can go on a rant about.
Or Corey could, or I could, or so. I've already done a couple of them in these shows. So yeah,
That's true. So
Yeah.
yeah, we could make that another facet of our show.
Okay. Now we have the option package.
My personality undergoes a startling change.
You know, you should meet me because I'm a great guy.
I like big fat men like you. When they fall, they make more noise. And sometimes they never get up.
Option package.
This is the option package. Did you take the option? Of course you did. And our option this week are from the Complete Bard's Handbook.
Yes, indeed.
If you're playing along, it's PHBR8, stock number 2127. And it was the main person on here is Blake Mobley. I'm not familiar with you.
No, me neither. That's the first time I've ever seen or heard of this person, but I like what he did.
That's Blake Mobley and Tim Beach.
Mm-hmm.
With as they say in Mad, the usual gang of idiots doing all the art and editing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So guys such as Mike Bro doing the editing and
Exactly.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
It published in '92, so it was like one of the later. What was it like the middle era?
Yeah,
Second edition.
because by this time they had already put out like six previous books: Fighter Thieves, Priests, Wizards, Psionics, and Dwarves.
So they had that pretty much under their belt, and they knew how to do it and everything.
Yeah, this is where they started really cranking them out. Yeah.
Well, the Bard in second edition actually became a full-fledged class.
Yes, sir.
And so they needed some kind of support for it. So hence the Bard's Handbook.
Mhm.
And it is chock full of stuff.
Oh yeah.
The kits are nice. Excuse me, the spells are nice.
Mhm.
Have you ever used this book?
Oh, this is like when I was running with my gaming group from 1990 up until I left to move to Florida in '93. This was like aside from the Fighter's Handbook, this was like the most used one. When this came out, it not only sort of, because going back to first edition, the Bard class is really hard to qualify for.
Yes,
You
it
need
was.
Yeah, you needed number one. You needed really, really good ability scores, number one,
Yeah.
and then you had to take fighter to like 6th level, then mage, then druid, thief, then druid.
I cannot tell you how many people who wanted to play bards that said, "Screw it, I'm just writing down the stats."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because you weren't going to be able to roll
15 minutes rolling. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to take the minimum. Fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for second edition, they decided to make it basically a distilled version of what the 1E Bard once you got all those character levels. just because you were decent, you were passable as a fighter, passable as a thief, passable as a druid, if I'm not mistaken.
So that, like, the ranger was the jack of all trades, wilderness version. The bard is the city version of the jack of all trades.
Yeah, that about sums it up. That about sums it up. And basically, it's its own class. I mean, it's basically a subclass of thief, but
Yeah.
to me, it's like it's got a little bit of everything, a little bit of fighter, a little bit of thief, a little bit of mage,
Yeah.
and it does pretty well on its own.
And
Stands up pretty well.
in the back of the book, page 121, it has a nice 1 or 2 pages on the first edition bard.
Yes, it does.
How you could adapt it, how you can adapt to that.
Mm-hmm.
It even gives the experience chart from the first edition. If you
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because your character at that point is like almost equivalent. It's basically almost like a 3-class multi-class character at that point.
You're a and since humans can become bards,
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the rare human multi-class classes out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you survived long enough, and that was always the kind of the sticking point with me, is that your character basically has to achieve, if just running off the top of my head, I'd say like 16 character levels in order to, finally qualify as a bard.
Yeah.
And my whole issue with that is that your characters, the odds of your character making it that far are pretty slim, considering, if you're running with just a regular adventuring party from first level. By the time you qualify as a bard, everybody else is like 13th, 14th level, somewhere in there. And it was like, to me, that was like, okay. I mean, the abilities that you get once you make it that far make it worth it, but it's really, really difficult.
Oh yeah, and there's no reason. I mean, didn't they have a dragon article about around first edition about the not so hard bard, an alternate way to do it?
Yes, they did. If I could remember what issue that was, I could probably look it up.
It's like the bard not so hard.
Yes, that was the name of it.
Yeah.
And I think when they decided to retool everything for second edition, I think they took from that article and just planted it over, and just gave a couple things and took a couple things away,
right.
And it makes the class a lot easier to go with.
Oh yeah,
at least to me.
Oh yeah. And I'm just thumbing through here. I haven't thumbed through here in a while. I did notice such beautiful artwork.
Yes.
I mean, just like all their splat books, just got these beautiful color plates, and the and the black and white ones are really nice.
Yes.
And it really fits. There's another great Big B's fist spell on a bridge. I love that. And I just noticed all the what? I'm sorry, what?
No, I was just going to say that's the funny part about Big B spells is that it was just seeing these pictures just give you a little spark to your imagination as how these things are actually used.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a bard doing it right there. It was against some was just like ogres or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's great,
yes,
going across the bridge. And I love this 2-page spread of all these different instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
harpsichord, pipe, or how did I miss this? This is beautiful.
Yeah,
and the stats for said instruments plus.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so
indeed.
For equipment, they've got some interesting spells in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a wonderful book. And let's see what kind of kits we got. The kits for the bard in second edition is a true bard, which I believe is the first edition bard, only rewrit.
No, actually, that's the bard that's in the player's handbook.
They include the true bard. Okay.
Yeah, they included that in just to be complete.
Okay, the blade, the charlatan, the gallant, the gypsy bard, the herald, the jester, the jongleur, jugglers for us laymen, lore master, meister singer, riddle master, skald, and thespian. The only one I'm not familiar with as far as name goes is skald.
That is a Nordic bard, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I read the Blade. I like the Blade. It's like,
Yes,
okay,
I've
let's all
played
play
Blade.
Inigo Montoya.
Yes. Yes, that yeah, if that was yeah, if that's what you decide to put Inigo into a second edition campaign, that's what he'd be.
That's right.
And yeah, I've played the Blade, I've DM'd the Blade. It's to me it's a lot of fun. I mean, as long as the player doesn't try to go too far with it and try to um make him like a front rank fighter
Hmm.
because he just doesn't have the combat ability of a fighter. He just
Yeah,
acts like he does.
yeah.
And but yeah, it's a wonderful kit to take.
Now the one I think I'd have fun with is the Gypsy Bard,
Oh, I'm scrolling down. There we
because
go.
he's like more rogue than Bard.
Oh, yes, I agree. I agree. The whole, of course, the whole thing, the sort of like the Middle to Eastern European kind of gypsy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the folks you run into in Ravenloft.
Hmm. Yeah, or in certain parts of Greyhawk,
That's
sure.
true. That's true.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's some good stuff in here. Some really good stuff, and I wish I could go into detail.
Hmm.
Um, Meister
Well,
Singers. Wow.
yeah, Meister Singers. Oh goodness, I'm trying to remember the one that basically little campaign story. I was running a solo game with my ex-fiance, and I basically had her make two characters, and one of the characters she had was a bard. I'm trying to remember if it was a Meister singer or something else.
Uh-huh.
But basically, as I've said in a previous show, that I use comeliness as well as charisma, and not only did she have like a charisma of like 17, but she was an elf, and her comeliness was like 20,
Uh-huh.
and she's playing like an elf, basically an elf Meister singer, basically just gotten into adulthood, so she's got a lot of child still in her.
Oh yeah.
So she's walking down the street in this town, and all the males are just whipping their heads around so hard their necks are snapping. Yeah, accidents are happening in her wake and all this kind of stuff.
she's
You
she,
know,
she's in an anime all of a sudden.
yes, exactly. And she was just, and that was part of the fun. My ex fiance is one of the best role players I've ever played with,
Oh,
and
love it.
yeah, absolutely, it was wonderful. But yeah, I mean that is just that's a great. The bard class is good just on its own, but these kits just give that extra little,
The kick.
the extra added dimension to make them, just a lot easier, lot more fun to play and to
Uh-huh.
run as a DM,
Oh
with the
yeah.
right kind of player, of course. You know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I will say just on, just as an added note that there's a bit of a debate going on in Dragon's Foot about the bard class right now.
Really.
And yeah, and I think the problem with the bard class, or at least this iteration of the bard class with
Uh-huh.
a lot of players,
Uh-huh.
is that they seem to think that the bard is just this traveling minstrel fool, just foolish kind of guy running around in
Yeah.
tights and traipsing all over the place. And
Yeah, they all think he's cacophonics or something.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Or he's like the bard in the old campy Batman TV series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, guys, it's not like that. I mean, he is a jack of all trades. He's not, excellent at anything. He's just good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
But he has his role in an adventuring party, if only just to be the mouthpiece. Because
He's
one
the
of
face.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Just like in the A team, the face. High charisma, does 90% of the talking,
Mhm.
and, just as always, just gives a little bit in each kind of area, as a support character, really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They got some good. They got some interesting spells in here. I like the one where the cabinet holds all his stuff, could be teleported wherever he is.
Yes, yes. That way he doesn't have to always be weighed down by carrying his instruments and so.
Instruments or blades or whatever. You could just.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's good. But my favorite is improved magic mouth in here because it's imbued with the bard's current knowledge, intelligence, and personality.
Oh, that's great. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This
Knock,
is
knock, knock. This mouth comes out. Piss off.
exactly, in the bard's voice and in his speech patterns and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty
Now that's the
cool.
kind of magic mouth I'd like to use. It's a third level spell,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't. Let's see. I don't even. They don't even. Well, it says VSM, but I don't see any material components. Um,
Huh, that is weird. Let me look at, while you're talking, I'll look it up.
well,
Yeah, it doesn't, unless it's the same as the original Magic Mouth.
well, or it could be maybe all he needs is like his instrument.
That's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible.
But hey, yeah, complete Bard's Handbook. This is one of the more common ones you can find too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
so it's not like you're looking for the Necromancer's book or something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
you pick this up on the cheap.
yeah, and pay the proverbial arm and a leg for it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the core classes, fighter, thief, wizards, priest, are the most common, and then there's the second tier. I think this is just on the beginning of the second tier.
Second tier, yeah, but it's still easy to find.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's weird. I got all these books, like I told you, at different places, mostly half price, but I have yet to find a fighter's handbook.
Really?
That's weird, isn't it?
I could probably I can think of at least 3 places off the top of my head I could visit, sites I could visit, and they'll have like 100 of them.
Well, you don't understand. We have 2 half price books, and I've completely gutted them. Second edition splat books. Gutted.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, as long as they're not charging those ridiculous collector's prices, go for it.
No. Anyway, Bard's Handbook. Tell us how you use it. THACOshammer@gmail.com or 405-806-0555. The other usual places, Dragon's Foot 2nd Edition forum, and purpleworm.org. It's time for people skills.
The face is familiar.
It's mine.
And so it is.
Oh, yes, of course. It stands out a mile, doesn't it? He's so common.
A little lady comes in here and starts throwing her butt around. What is that supposed to do?
All right, forget I said anything.
Maybe I will.
Well, that's pretty good.
Don't tell me you weren't looking at it.
Well, that's not half bad.
She's giving it right back to you.
People skills.
People skills. Oh boy, the half-orc. Humanoid half-orcs.
Yes.
We all know how they came into the world. Enough said.
To begin with, not at all.
Enough said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like one of the major sticking points for, when 2nd edition came out. It's like, where's the half orc, man?
Yeah.
But they got their due. They definitely got their due.
They did in the book of Humanoids, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, which I don't have handy with me right now.
Well, as it happens, I have it right in front of me right here.
Son of a gun. So basically, humanoids are what we left out. We're putting in here.
Yeah. Okay, we've heard you guys.
Anyway.
Yeah, we've heard you complaining. We got it. We'll put it out.
Yeah. Which is why they came out with a fighting monk, the priest handbook. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna save that for another show because I can go off on that for.
So what's
while.
a 2nd edition half orc like?
Well, basically, I think they just basically ported over the half orc from 1st edition into 2nd. If you want to use a half orc, you get a +1 adjustment to your strength, +1 to your con, and -2 to your charisma. Mm-hmm. For me using comeliness, I'd probably extend that -2 to that as well. Maybe even go as far as -3, right. Because you're basically a hybrid with an orc, and orcs are butt ugly, to be honest about it. But they have the wonderful, they have good stats. They make excellent fighters, as you might think.
Oh yes.
And
they're very intelligent.
Yes, actually, you would think that they wouldn't be, but yeah, they have like a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 17.
Have you ever had anybody play a half orc who favored the human side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think every last one of them have tried to favor the orc side.
Because it's like nobody wants to play the human part. It's like Mr. Spock not wanting to be human. It's the same
exactly.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to try that sometime.
Hey,
What's the downside of being a half orc in second edition? I
well,
mean, besides being ostracized and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
that's like the major one. I mean, it's the same thing about when, and this is going to be like another topic for another show, but it's
Yeah.
like people trying to play Drow. They think they can just traipse along on the surface and not have, any,
Hmm.
any kind of drawbacks. It's like, look, if you're coming, this is how I feel. If you're coming straight out of the Underdark. Number one, any elf that sees you is going to try to kill you.
Right.
Any human or demi-human that knows what you are, and most, and I wouldn't, the common people probably wouldn't, but those that are a step above, like constabulary
Yeah.
and leaders of communities and
You're
things
going to
like
be one
that,
of the
they would know.
usual suspects.
Exactly. Anything bad that happens, yeah, you're going to be,
Picked
suspect number.
up and questioned, and at
Mm-hmm.
the very least.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the joke goes. Drow and a half orc both walking into the inn. They were killed immediately.
Exactly. But yeah, with half orcs, it's, even though they may have, an easier time of it, but I look at it this way, it's a role playing opportunity to play a half orc, not just for the cool bonuses that some people might think that would uh they would get.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just basically, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, he's the archetype now. Drizzt Do'Urden, basically from the first book all the way through however many Mr. Salvatore wrote,
Uh-huh.
basically his major thing was looking for a place to be accepted. And that's what the half orc would be doing, because
Right.
everybody, everyone on, in this world knows that orcs are this way. They're not going to change. And just because, you are the subject of, a tragic occurrence, or the result of a tragic occurrence, I should say,
Yeah.
um, it's not going to be easier for you. And, most societies, once they figure out what you are, they're going to try run you out on a rail.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Basically, they would.
Hmm.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. There are
If
some
you're
that
unlucky,
just.
you're a body floating in the lake.
Hmm. Exactly. And
Yeah.
nobody knows what happened.
Yeah. So what's the physical? I mean, stat wise downside of being an orc?
Stat
Yeah,
wise,
stat wise, physical wise, there's
I
usually
mean,
some downside somewhere.
the only thing that's really a downside is the fact that, and only with somebody who's a really good role player who could play it out, is the low charisma. They can only
Okay.
have a maximum charisma of 12. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And so that puts, the average at below average, say around a 7 or so.
So you're not going to see any half orc priests running around.
Well, no. Well, the wisdom side, the wisdom,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
What's
their
that?
wisdom could be 14. So
Yeah.
they could actually be a cleric,
It could be a
but
cleric.
yeah, just
I'd
not
love to do that.
effective.
That'd be so cool in a game. They're
Hmm.
going to the temple of their good god or whatever. Because they always say that, oh, they got to be neutral or evil.
No,
Why?
yeah, exactly. Why?
Why?
You know.
And they go to the head of the temple. He takes his hood off. Boom! It's a half orc.
Hmm.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. Once they all get over the initial shock of having a half orc in their temple,
Yeah.
but yeah, I could.
It's like you run the place. You run the place? Yes, my son, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is my
Uh,
temple. Yes.
oh, I love playing out of turning it up like turning it upside down like that. Anyway, uh, yeah, I just thought there was be like some. I mean, besides low charisma, I thought they'd have like a I don't know some creatures that get +2 to hit on them or something like that.
Hmm.
But okay, then it's basically if you're a DM and you have a half orc in the party, you better make damn sure they're going to role play it then,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
this could be
100%.
unbalancing.
Well, I wouldn't say unbalancing, but
Well,
my
I'm
whole
thinking of
thing.
all those players who want to play Drow or Blade Singers and don't care if nobody likes them.
Oh, yeah. Well, then in my campaign, those characters wouldn't last very long.
Yeah, I can understand. I can hear a lot of DMs listening to this saying, "Yeah, me too." But there's a good percentage out there who
Hmm.
will let them run roughshod over their campaign.
That's true. That is
Yeah.
very true.
So
I
this
mean,
goes out to you people.
yes, you people.
All right, all right, all right.
Oh,
All one big role-playing family, remember? That's what we said on the Wizards board.
okay.
I want to teach the world to sing and roll dice. Uh, but
Imperfect harmony.
in perfect crits. Uh, but
Watching their arms and legs get chopped off.
so how have you've obviously you've had half orcs players in your game.
I've
Uh,
played with them, yes.
okay, what kind of what do they gravitate towards as far as class goes?
Well,
Typical
I mean,
fighter?
I'd say probably 99% of them were fighters.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe every once in a while there'd be like a fighter cleric, but my whole thing is I'm looking at uh the level maximum levels here, and you know they only can go up to fourth level as a cleric, which is kind of low to me.
Hmm.
I mean it with the complete book of humor, it has the orc and the half orc side by side,
Uh-huh.
and orcs can go up to ninth level as clerics, and half orcs can only go up to four, and I'm like, that's
That's
unless you play a single class cleric, that's not very good.
yeah. I'd let him go to at least ninth, at least as much as the orc.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
And that's in basic. That's name a level.
hmm
Um, so yeah, that's one thing I'd change in my game if you're playing a half.
yeah,
You can go to
me,
ninth and
yeah,
a cleric.
me too, me too. Even with the optional rule to where if you have a high stat, high relevant stat, high prime requisite, you get more levels. But even so, fourth is really, really limiting.
Yeah, that's kind of
Hmm.
that sucks.
But yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it before, and I'm like, okay, I could see like a half orc, praying to a human god of war or battle or something like that. That's atypical, but you could also go with like nature, which would be funny.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, let's take it from the other side of the screen, from the
Okay.
DM's point of view. You
Hmm.
usually like to use these guys as baddies.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and they're the ones usually, like if you have a band of orcs, a huge army of orcs and goblins, they're usually the general
Hmm.
or
It's true.
the main big bad guy, or at least his right hand, his Vader,
Hmm. I
or as they call him, the dragon.
agree.
That's basically how you use them.
Yeah, with half orc, more often than not, I don't use them as like leaders of like armies and things like that, but I will use them as leaders of bandit groups, and or just basically where any group where they figure that might makes right, and I have this position because I killed the previous leader to get it, and I rule this entire band through fear and intimidation, and they'll do what I say, otherwise I'm going to kill them, kind of
Right.
thing. But yeah. Yeah, I know, but they make good opponents. I mean, it's like I said, I'm unless if the person who wants to run a half fork can play it, role play it right, I tend to look at it with a jaundiced eye,
Uh,
but if the person's a good role player, I have no problem with it whatsoever.
okay, good, good. Half orcs, love them or hate them. Give us a shout out at thacoshammer@gmail.com and the other usual places.
Mm.
And now we're getting loaded for bear.
Bet you don't have a pair of these, Earthling.
And for the big critters, sometimes you got to bring out the nuclear weaponry.
Loaded for bear.
Loaded for bear. We haven't talked about weapons in quite a while.
No, we have not.
And we're going to take once again one of the basic ones, pole arms.
Yes.
The 11-foot pole that you wouldn't touch people with the 10-foot pole with.
Hmm.
Yeah, try and get that down a dungeon corridor. Okay, what do we got? The glaive, Gusan, the Fapochete, or whatever their name is.
Yeah, the
Spear.
Bilgus arms, Yeah, glaives, pole axes,
Bosoms,
bec de corbons.
yeah, all
Yes.
that French stuff.
Yes.
Plus the usual like quarterstaff and spears and lances, things like that.
Yeah, long spears and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm
Let's see. Weapons, page 96 in the black second edition. If you're playing along, you will find, as I turn it here, you will find a picture of a guy being attacked by a bunch of kobolds.
Isn't that the one where he's like getting mobbed by them?
Yeah, pretty much. Liz would love
Yeah.
it. Oh, what do we have here? Missile weapons. Looking. Oh, here we go. Pole arms. We've got pike awls, bardiche, bec de coben, bigosson, fachard fort, glaive, gazam, voulage, halberd, hook, fachard, lucerne hammer, military fork, partisan rancer, spectrum, and voulage, and quarterstaff. Pick your poison, Brian.
You want to know something? I think I've had in all the years I'm playing, I think I've had maybe one character actually using pole arms.
Really?
Yes, because especially early days, 99% of our adventures were in dungeons. And
Yeah.
yeah, those things are not exactly conducive to the chaos of dungeon fighting. And
that's what you want to get, the collapsible versions.
Exactly. Yeah, go to a dwarf and have him make one, sure. But I mean, I've have martial arts characters who have like Lajatangs, which are basically quarterstaffs with half moon blades on each end, and there's one character I think it's a ranger character I have who uses a long spear, which is basically like a 12-foot long spear. Basically, can't be thrown. I mean, it's technically a pole arm, but they decided to make that distinction for second edition. In the fighter's handbook, no less. So
there's also like the they don't. I can't find it on the list here, but they have the pole mace.
Yes.
Those kind of things, and like morning stars on a pole, and so I don't have my arms and equipment guide here with me. Otherwise, I'd look that up. Yeah, it's like anything you can imagine being a regular weapon can be a pole arm, pretty much.
Well, I'm looking at the combat and tactics book, and they actually go into the different groups of pole arms, and each one has a specific benefit to it. Like, let's see. Let me use as an example of course the things like the pikes and the Ranseurs, the Spedums, the Partisans, and things like that. They get like a +2 bonus to if somebody's trying to if you're trying to like trap somebody's weapon, you get a bonus to it. Or if you're trying to block someone's attack, you get a bonus to that.
Right.
Pole axes get +2 bonus to attack rolls against plate or mail armor, which is a good benefit. So you could carry a bardiche, which is basically just the battle axe on steroids.
Yeah.
And that's very good against armored opponents. And
see, this is when I was ranting about weapon speed. This is basically a good example of why I didn't like weapon speed.
Oh, with pole arms?
Pole arms can be awful slow.
Yes. But at the same time, my whole thing is that number one, they, in a way they should be, unless they're being set to receive somebody's charge, or if the character using in question, takes two-handed style, which reduces the speed factor by 3, which is pretty significant.
Go
ahead.
No, just
go ahead.
There's one weapon I always wanted, and this is like me totally munchkinning out here.
Okay.
Glenn's
Confessions.
The Glenn's Confessions, yes. No,
it's not just me, folks. It's not just me.
Saw an anime where this guy was hunting, I think, vampires or demons, and he had this huge hammer with a point on the end. and he swung it and pressed a button, and there was like this engine in the back of the hammer started, and it right into his swing, and it's like, yeah, I want one of those. Because it's like a jet engine in the back of the hammer.
Oh,
Boom!
Yeah, talk about point of impact. Ouch.
Yeah. Oh man, I said, screw your weapon factor. Boom. That's my
Hey,
connection.
you could get Tinker Gnomes to make something like that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we do have Tinker Gnomes.
Yes, we do. Oh.
Gotta love it.
Oh boy. But yeah, so like the bills, like with Bill Gisarms and Glaive Gisarms and stuff, you get a bonus to pull trip maneuvers against riders. You can use them to pull horsed combatants off their horses, which could hurt them or possibly kill them in some ways, because as we all know, falling off the back of a horse hurts a lot.
Especially when you're in like full plate, it hurts even more.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and then there's another category which, basically all the weapons that don't fall into the previous four ones, like the Lucerne hammer, which you want to know something? Now that I see the Lucerne hammer, I remember there was a character that actually used one, and I didn't know exactly what it was because I never saw one.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what it is it has a it's like the Bec de Corbin, but instead of a point to pierce armor, it uses a clawed hammer.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is kind of nasty in itself.
And I can pull out nails too.
Yes, yes. So it gives like a bonus to attacks versus targets in plate armor, which is, I think what they did with combat and tactics is they saw maybe that a lot of players were not using pole arms, so they decided to
jack it up.
Just a little bit, just to give like this little bonus.
Well, I'll tell you, whenever I play a mage, you're damn right he's going to have a quarterstaff.
Of course,
mages have. I mean, I can justify it. Mages have staffs, and if he trains in it, he won't be completely flat-footed and protect those 4 hit points he has at first level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, that reminds me of a mage character I use as an NPC who, once she cast all her spells, she'd whip out that quarterstaff and go charging into battle.
Oh, I've done it. I've done it before. Just, everybody, we fight orcs, goblins. I think we ended up against an ogre one time, and I was there smashing heads. Shoving. I mean, I was going so fast they couldn't hit me. And just slamming them. I'm not even thinking about spells. The fighter's just having a conniption watching the mage do the...
Yeah, like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
It's almost, I should have called the mage Leroy Jenkins. But that's the way he was acting. It's like, get him. He says, what were you thinking? I was thinking I'm very frail, and you were over there, and 2 of them were coming at me. That's what I was thinking.
Yep, I decided to take the offensive. That's what I was thinking.
And even the monsters were going, what?
Huh?
What? This guy in the robes is... Wait a minute. The guys in the robes don't do that. They throw stuff off their hands.
Yeah, they throw owie things at me.
Yes, what the hell? I mean, there was a point I did my one spell. I was out of daggers. Ah!
Yeah. Go for broke.
Yeah, that quarterstaff training really came in handy.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least it wasn't, being trained by, at least the character wasn't trained by Daffy Duck.
That's true. But he had a buck and a quarterstaff. But
That's true. Yes, I forget about that part.
That's right. Well, quarterstaffs, love them. Of course we love them. Yeah. Talk to us about it. The usual places. And now we're on a snipe hunt.
If you only had a living brain.
What do you think? Escaped gorilla?
Listen, you're making enough noise to wake up the dead.
I don't have to wake him up. He's up.
It's time for a snipe hunt.
The snipes are coming out. It's time for this week. What are we doing?
We are doing harpies.
Harpies. Page 184 of the Monstrous Manual. I don't know where it is in the Monstrous Compendium.
Huh. Well, they didn't come with page numbers, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But I don't remember if it was in the first one or the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But harpy.
I think it was the first one.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the harpy picture, and it's like, that is one of... Wait a minute. There's... What? That's a woman.
Yes. Yes, harpies are female.
Yeah, it looks like... It's like Christopher Walken with
vulture
legs.
Ooh. I'm going to avoid the obligatory joke about cowbell. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. I just can't.
Well, it's the Bruce Dickinson with the vulture body, you know.
Hey! I'm a Maiden fan. You watch that.
It's the Bruce Dickinson. I get to put my pants on, but I records anyway. No, it's more like Christopher Lee, actually. Okay, these are. Let's see, and they're not very smart. That's what I was surprised. It's like 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which helps.
Yeah, and what are we talking about? We're talking 7 hit dice.
Yes.
That's an ouch.
Oh yeah. You want to know something that I thought about when we were doing the show notes? I decided just on a lark to open up the 1E monster manual. This is another monster that got a power upgrade.
What's that?
Because
Harpy?
the harpies in 1E are only 3 hit dice. Only 3. Which makes these things, even though nothing else has changed about them, it makes them a lot tougher to deal with, especially if you've got more than, say, 3 or 4 that are going up against your party.
Yeah, I was going to say for a mid-level, this is like for mid-level characters, player characters.
Yes. One harpy could easily take out an entire party of low-level characters.
And they never come in just one.
No, they don't.
No. It's always a flock of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like mid to high level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're around temperate tropical land or coast, so this would be good for like a sea adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, be on a sailing ship. All of a sudden, you hear that singing voice.
Yep.
Make your save versus magic.
Yep. That attack of theirs, boy, that'll really get you.
Mm-hmm.
Instant charm.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they can also charm by touch. Yeah. They don't have to just sing. They can actually hit you in combat, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, yes, of course. What would you require of me?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're fighting your compatriots.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, they're saying number appearing 2d6. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't use that in just a random encounter. I'd put that in a lair.
That's a special.
Yeah. That I'd probably do like 1 to 4 at the most.
I do an encounter built around like just not a bunch of harpies in this room, but something going on there to with those harpies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gem that you're trying. This man's trying to eat gem. This man's trying to grab, and every time the harpies take it away, and then they drop it again, and something like that. Something like that.
Well, I was gonna say eating gems. Would you see Conan the Destroyer lately?
I was gonna say, where did it come from? Which the armor class is 7, a THACO of 13. So, like I said, they're not wimps anymore.
No. Even though their damage is fairly light, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 6, or 1 to 3, 1 to 3 plus whatever weapon they're using, which is usually usually bone clubs of their previous victims, because, well, let's just say that harpies, there's only one way, I hate to even bring this up, there's only one way harpies reproduce. That's to charm a male, do whatever they have to do with him, and then eat him.
So they're almost like Black Widows.
Yes, indeed. And and each harpy that's born of that way is almost always a female. No one's ever seen a male harpy.
That's right.
And so harpies, they are fairly tough. I mean, if you don't take certain precautions about dealing with the harpy song, such as putting wax in your ears or stuff like that. It can be a tough road if you don't make your saves.
A silent spell would be nice.
Yes, actually, that would probably be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Best way to handle harpies, or characters who are really enterprising can use a silence spell and center it on the fighter.
The fighter, yeah.
Yes, and use that as basically a mobile area of silence.
Yeah.
To deal with the charm, because that's usually what trips up parties is failing their saves versus that charm song.
If you don't have a mage, you know what class would be really good to have with you if you ran into harpies?
What's that?
We're talking about bards.
Bards, yes, the sound bubble.
Yes.
Yes.
They got all sorts of sound and music tricks up their sleeve.
That's very true.
That can counter whatever they're doing.
Yes. Very. Oh, or even so, let's just say there's an adventuring party and one or two characters have been charmed by a harpy. The bard can use his counter song.
Yeah.
Yep. As soon as the harpy starts singing, he starts singing. Then it becomes a sing-off.
Yeah, it's like the end. It's the end of Dark City. Where they're both everything's crumbling around them and they're both singing.
Oh wow! Wow, that's
Stop them! We can't.
That's some pull, Glenn. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I got a big butt to pull stuff out of. Have you used harpies, Brian?
Oh yes. Yes. Oh yes. And usually when I'm writing adventures basically from scratch instead of adapting adventures to second edition like I've been doing, usually, especially if it's in a ruined setting or a coastal setting like in the climate portion of the entry, I will use them. And one of the things that I have done, I have this nice little database program that's specifically made for RPGs, and I've basically entered the majority of monsters in the monstrous manuals and databases, and in the coastal section, when you go to generate say a random encounter, the harpy is in there. And you see them circling around overhead. Then you start hearing the dulcet tones of this beautiful song. Make your save versus spell. Yep. What? Yes, harpy song. Have
they
fun.
Are low intelligence. They are chaotic evil, but they do like to torture their victims.
Oh yes, yes they do. Woe be a character that gets charmed by one, and for whatever reason, their compatriots decide to leave him behind, because it's going to be a very tough road for that man.
Oh yeah, I'd love to play a character who got out of something like that and is like, I'm not going to do the revenge thing, but I mean, I'd love to play him and it's just like,
that would be
like a Vietnam vet,
Yeah, it starts getting PTSD. Yeah. That'd be a good hated enemy for a ranger character for sure.
Yes, especially like the seagoing rangers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The mountain ones, because they do like to be up there too. These are wonderful as hated as like +2 to hit because it's your hated enemy type thing.
Yeah.
An evil mage's familiar, maybe.
Mm.
If you could tame it.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But maybe an evil elven mage, because elves are immune to the harpy song.
That's true.
And
if not a familiar, just like, okay, we're going to throw you into the cage with the harpies.
Yes, they're going to have some fun with you.
Yeah. We'll put some spells on you so they can't kill you, but
but they're going to hurt you a lot.
Yeah, this is like an alternate form. This is like we have a special room in the dungeon, in the torture room.
Yes.
And you've been lucky enough to. You don't get the Iron Maiden to the rack. No, you're going in with the harpies.
Mm-hmm. And they're not going to eat you because I'm not going to tell them not to eat you, but
Yeah,
they're
it's
going
like,
to have
you make him think he's got spells on there. No, I just told him not to eat you.
Exactly. Wow.
Because if they do, they get me.
Yeah. Yeah. Then they have to deal with me, and they've seen how that goes.
Yeah. So if I've got a priest who can like intimidate harpies, I'm going to start worrying. He intimidates harpies.
He's got those harpies do what he says. Really?
What? Without spells?
I don't want to mess with him.
No. Oh, we can have so much fun.
Yes.
Oh, these are so much fun.
Yes, a particularly sadistic DM can have fun with these.
Oh, yes. Harpies, we love them. How about you? THACOshammer@gmail.com. Well, it's that time again. Time to go. Glad you enjoyed the adventure. Don't forget your dice. You can grab a drink on the way out. And what do you got? Any final words, Brian?
Just like I said, and like we've been trying to tell you guys, if you love the show, keep telling us about it.
Yes, please.
We've been getting a lot of good feedback on Dragon's Foot lately, and keep that up, please.
Yes, tell your friends when we need more listeners to give us some feedback on iTunes. Because I believe, Vince says we're on iTunes. So, okay, leave us some feedback there. We want to keep the show going. Really
Absolutely.
do. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, we just started with the birthright thing. We got some more specialty shows starting up in about a couple more. I think our next one is going to be Dark Sun, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
That's going to rock.
I've got some opinions. I've got some opinions about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got to pull all those shows where Brian has strong opinions.
Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
They're going to get it. They're going to love it. So for DM Brian, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And for me, DM Glenn, I'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. See ya.
Bye.
Harpy. The THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find him on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at THACOshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at THACOshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. Also, you'll find us on the second edition forum at dragonsfoot.org, or you can give us a call, leave a message at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.